Gentlelady, I now recognize myself for 5 minutes for questions. Administrator Regan, there appears to be a trend where the EPA is denying an increasing number of small refinery exemptions to the renewable fuel standard. The GAO put out a report that found that the EPA has not analyzed the accuracy of its assumptions that small refineries do not experience disproportionate economic hardship from the renewable fuel standards. And GAO's analysis found that small refineries have paid on average for compliance credits that are higher than the large refineries. And what I want to know is, why has the EPA not analyzed the accuracy of the assumptions used to deny the small refinery exemptions?
We have analyzed those, and most of or all of those recent denials are in response to the ruling that the 10th Circuit gave. We had approved SREs as an agency in previous years. The courts ruled against that.
Are you saying that you're basing your rulings on the 10th Circuit Court, or based on your analysis are you saying that they're not paying more?
We've updated our analysis based on the losses that we've faced in court.
But are
to
they
be sure
paying
that
more?
we're on the
Are
right
the
side
small
of the law.
refineries having to pay more?
Well, I think the question is how we define the economic disbenefit.
The question is pretty simple. Are the refineries being forced to pay more?
As the EPA Administrator, I'm only allowed to consider the economic disproportionate impact, not just to the refiner, but to the state and to a number of entities. So that's outside of our jurisdiction just to make a decision.
Is that you're admitting that the small refineries are being disproportionately impacted by your decisions on the renewables fuel
I don't have the authority just to consider. I guess what I'm saying is I don't have the authority just to consider the question you're asking, which is, are the refineries being disproportionately impacted solely? That's not the way the SRE program works.
You do have the authority to report accurately to Congress whether or not that is the case, so that Congress, if need be, can take appropriate action. The GAO also found the EPA's inconsistency in granting exemptions makes the agency's decisions to appear ad hoc, resulting in market uncertainty that can harm small refineries and renewable fuel producers. Under this current administration, gas prices have skyrocketed, and Americans are definitely feeling the pain. Why has the EPA contributed to high prices with its attack on small refineries?
I think the EPA's response is in response to the SREs that were given in previous years, and the courts denied those and said that the EPA acted outside of its legal authority. And so our decisions moving forward are based on what we believe our legal authority is, in concert with the way and the advice that the courts have given us.
Well, this is another example of this administration, giving favorability to certain players in the marketplace, and it ultimately harms the American consumer. And I don't know why your agency wants to create this market uncertainty for the small refineries when everything gets passed down to the consumer, and it shows up. And it's, I've made this point time and time again, that energy is the most inflationary component in the entire economy, because everything has an energy cost, whether it's gas at the pump, or shows up on the utility bill, or shows up at the grocery shelf. I want to ask you something else. During COVID, we sent a massive amount of money to the Small Business Administration in the form of the payroll protection plan, far exceeding their budget, and tasked them in a very short amount of time to distribute these funds to applicants, and it resulted in massive fraud. I mean, unprecedented in the history of the United States. Your EPA has about an $11 billion budget, but you're being tasked with distributing $27 billion from a green bank slush fund. That's my analysis of it. I want to know, and you have to do it by September of next year. Does the EPA, what have you done to ensure that there'll be no fraud and no mismanagement of this money, which is more than double? It's 2.5 times your budget.
Well, the first thing that I've done and continue to do is meet with my Inspector General, and as we design the programs that Congress has delegated to us, to be sure that we have all of the backstops and protections in place to avoid any kind of wasteful spending. I feel really good that we've done a good job on the bipartisan infrastructure law, and we'll do a great job on the Inflation Reduction Act. And I am very well aware that there is a lot of oversight that is watching everything the agency is doing. So we're being very careful with these resources.
Well, I appreciate that answer. We will be observing very closely what happens with this money. We cannot allow ourselves to go through another situation like we did in COVID, where billions and billions of dollars were fraudulently taken. I yield back and recognize Mr. Sarbanes for his questions.